Welcome to the Miss Universe India 2024 preliminary evening gown recap. I'm Dani Walker. Thank you for joining me for this episode. Let's get into it. I'm going to share with you my standout performances and ones that were really memorable for me. Number 9 looks great in this color. This yellow is really bright and vivid on stage. She also did that little hair move, which I learned was not from Catriona. It was not from Naomi. It was actually from a Filipina supermodel back in the 90s. That was her little thing, moving the hair to the front. So we actually saw that move a lot. I think it was overused during this competition. So I'm like, ladies, do it sparingly, do it well, do it when it makes sense. And that's a very rare occasion. But she tried to do that move. I can see where she's coming from. I do think that they pulled the camera away from her a little bit too soon, which is unfortunate, not her fault. But she looks great in this yellow. Number 14, I feel like I noticed this performance and it stood out to me. The color that she was wearing was like a mauve pink and it's not very common, but it looked really beautiful on her in my opinion. She also had some great waterfall beading behind her on this look, but I do feel like she might get lost in the mix. I liked 21's performance. I also liked this gown on her. It was sheer, but when you got a little bit closer, you could see that there was multicolored stoning all over this gown, and then there was this wrapped sash of gold around her. Her hair was pulled back. She's really beautiful. It was a nice look for her, and she did a great job. She came across to me as confident and elegant. Here we have another green gown and another confident performance, and I do feel like we see more green in India because it's in the color of the flag, so it makes a lot of sense for the competition. I do, however, wish that she would have held her ending pose a little bit longer. The other thing I want to say about this production is that I love that they gave them a long runway to walk. We really got to see these ladies. Now, I do think that the camera angles can be improved a little bit for finals, but maybe that's what they're waiting on and holding out for, so it'll look like a different show. But I love when we also get a tight shot of the contestant's face at some point, so that's one thing that I was like, ooh, I feel like I'd have a better assessment of each of the girls if I got to see up close a little bit more. Number 36's gown color was unique, and I may be wrong about the color, but on the screen on my computer it was looking like a periwinkle type color. Really pretty. The fabric was flowing beautifully, but what I like is that she handled it well. She didn't overwork the fabric. She had some great moments where she was playing with the fabric, but it was never taking away from her. And even when she walked away, she was able to make sure that that fabric was picking up air, but she wasn't holding the fabric too high. I think that's a really big mistake a lot of contestants make when we have these chiffon or these organza fabrics, is they're trying to make it so big and they're lifting their arms like this. And I personally feel like the arms should never really come above that 45-degree angle when we're trying to catch air for the fabric. So I think that she did a great job. She looks really beautiful and she had a lot of stage presence. Number 10 is somebody that I want to see again for finals night. I hope she advances. I think her walk was so sultry, which feels very Miss Evening Gown, and I like that a lot. I do wish we would have seen once again like an up close shot of her face, because I feel like the judges are going to have a very different impression of these ladies than I do or than you do at home watching, because they will have a different impression of how the ladies engaged with them facially. And so I feel like this is the first time we've seen this competition from this organization, and I can't speak for how accurate I think these picks are. I feel like I'm missing a lot of information. Number 5 was a standout performance for me. I love how this gown really drew in her waist, and then it also helps to have a broader shoulder because that is going to make the waist look even smaller visually, and she looked great in this. She gave a confident performance. She really took her time. It felt like evening gown. It didn't feel like she was doing a swimsuit walk in an evening gown. So I like this. She was very elegant. Number 3, I'm going to say, I think she had a good pivot in the back of the stage, but the arm movements was a bit too grand for me, but she did still stick out. Number 44 looks beautiful. This gown on her, the structure, the style of the dress, this complements her. And a gown isn't everything, but the way that gowns, I think, benefit any contestant is it just makes you, the contestant, look her best, and it makes anybody draw their eye to you, and you want that in the competition. The gown should never overpower you. It should always be about you and how does it enhance you. The hair pulled back with this looks great. She did a great job overall. I feel like the color of number 7's gown was a great choice for her, great styling choice. It has a unique design, and also she had a well-executed spin turn, not easy to do in a gown. One thing I would say is I do want her chest to be up a little bit more at the end of that runway, so never to have that forward collapsed look, but chest pulled forward. And I do think she could have gone with a smaller earring that wouldn't have distracted as much from her. And I hope that if she keeps this same look that she'll actually swap out that jewelry. Number 12 is wearing this two-tone gown. I'm normally not a fan of that, but it did look great on her. And I just love her over the shoulder look. She nailed that moment. Number 27, I see her and I just think you've had some coaching and direction, and it shows. Like, this looks like a very well prepared performance. The first thing you notice is her starting in the back. Like, she caught my attention before she even started walking when there was another contestant on stage, and that's tough to do. So she had this perfectly timed pose in the back. She had this nice rotation forward, walk forward. She had her poses and the transitions were really well planned out. The gown looked great on her. It elongated her. The color of it was a great choice for her. There were so many great things about this performance that I really loved. Number 33, I'm on the edge about too for this performance. I don't think that she should have done 2 pivot turns so far back on the stage. It would have been, I think, more productive for her to do it closer. She spent way too much time back there, so I'm curious if that'll be affecting her score. Number 2 wore a green gown, and that's really rare for me to love a green gown. I feel like it's tough to wear green and find the right shade for you, but the gown style was simple, so she was well styled, and I feel like this was a really great start of the show to be one of the first contestants out. She did a good job here, and so I liked this performance. I loved the colors of 45's gown. We rarely see purple and fuchsia tones or magenta tones mixed together, and I'm such a fan. It looks so beautiful, the design of this dress. I expected her to do pretty well because of her pageant experience. I think that she had a great walk, very elegant, and I just really, really loved her gown. It was fabulous. Number 11 did a gown reveal, and she did struggle a little bit with this. My advice is if you're going to do a gown reveal, it has to be so well choreographed. It has to be so smooth, and ideally it has to be timed with a specific moment on stage or during a specific moment in the music. So you have to have such a high level of self-awareness when you're going to try to pull off these removals. It's tricky. Number 34, I'm wondering how the judges are going to be scoring this performance, because I will say she seemed very, very confident, but you could see that she was struggling to refrain from those glitz arms that I talk about, those arms that are quite a bit forced and swing a little bit unnaturally, but she looks beautiful. She looks great in her gown, and sometimes that's enough to overcome the arms, but it's usually not enough to get you into that top 5 placement. It's like at that point, they're not really willing to overlook it. Number 16, so a very sexy type of evening gown, a lot of leg, and I do hope that she changes this gown for finals, because I feel like her walk could be improved, and when you show that much leg and when you get a side shot from the camera, it really exposes, okay, the walk can use more work. Perfect example would be the swim and the gown competition at Miss USA 2019. Everybody was like, oh my gosh, the walks are so terrible, they're so bad. And I'm like, no, they're not so bad. It's that you're finally seeing walks from multiple angles. A lot of walks will look much better than they actually are if you're only seeing them from that front direction. But once you see them from the side, you're kind of like, huh, okay, now I can really see her posture. Now I can see that her legs aren't fully extending. So much more is exposed. So if your walk needs to be improved, I would never suggest a gown that's exposing the legs. I would suggest an evening gown that actually hides the legs, so we're not paying attention to that at all. Interestingly enough, her gown at Miss USA 2017 totally covered the legs, so it can help to make your evening gown performance look a lot better. So just something to note. I mean, it was an amazing gown. She looks stunning, but I do want that change for finals. Number 40 I liked, and I liked her gown because we rarely see these pop over styles of gowns, and when we do see them, typically the fabric is not sheer, so that's what kind of made the style of her gown a little bit unique, and it had like this nice flow to it. There was a lot of elegance, I think, in this performance. She wasn't overworking the fabric. She looked beautiful, so I liked it. Number 32 is one of my contestants. For this performance, I'm a little bit on the edge of like, would this move forward? I can't tell you, I'm not a judge this year, but I will say that I do think that she had some good facial expression changes at the end of the runway, and I feel like what you do at the end, right as they're making their last decisions, is very pivotal. Number 6 in red, the color looks great on her, and I do say that I like her facial expression changes. The hair was falling in front of her face a little bit, so I really hope that she corrects that for finals. Number 38, this is interesting because I had a feeling this would happen. So I love the gown on her, and she has a pretty good performance here as well. But one thing I noticed about her in her video and her social media is one thing about her makeup application is it's very flat. So it's all one color, and I was really hoping that she would make that change for the stage. Her makeup looks like it's applied just all matte and powdered, and there's no dimension to it. So there's no contour, no highlight, no blush, nothing. And you really need that for an onstage competition. You really got to pop and make your features pop, and that helps facially for each of the contestants. So I was like, oh my gosh, I had a feeling. Oh, we just need a little bit of contour, some blush, maybe some bronzer on there, and I feel like it would really enhance her look on stage. Number 20, I have to say, looks great in blue. Here's another one of my notes for the show overall. I will say that I love that we are seeing so many different colors. So many times pageant fans complain that we only see ladies in metallic, and you can't make that complaint this year because these ladies really brought so many different colors to the stage, and I thought that was very fun. Number 20 is a great example of a bright, bold color that looks great on stage. She also had a really nice pivot turn as well. She looked lovely here. She did a great job. Number 47, this overall red look reminded me a lot of Laura Dutta, that was Miss India and Miss Universe 2000, and I love the nostalgia of that. I like the simple gown. I love the gloves with it. I do wish that the corset in the back was better hidden in the dress. I think that that would have been nice as she walked away, and so that was the one change of the garment itself. But I liked this performance. She was confident, she was elegant, and frankly, it was one of my standouts personally. I just really liked this. I liked her. Number 17 for me, this was one of my favorite performances. This is a top pick for me. We don't tend to see a lot of dark evening gowns, either black or blue or a mixture thereof, on our brunette contestants, especially if our brunette contestants are tan or dark skin, and it's just because there's not as much of a contrast between the two, so it's rare. And if you're gonna wear it, it has to be really well done. And like, for example, Arbany's winning evening gown, or I would say Michelle's evening gown at Miss Universe last year, beautiful black evening gown styles that I think look great on stage. This is another great example, and I love how there's a little bit of blue in the evening gown. The style was unique on her, but all of that aside, right, like the styling was really great, but the walk, it's the presence, it's the confidence, it's the facial expressions. I loved this. This is one of my top 5 performances of the evening. I'm obsessed with 49. The gown on her makes her look 10 feet tall. The hair adds to it. Just the way that she carried this look. And if you really look at it, it's a rather simple look in comparison to other things we see that have structure and feathers and capes and all these different things. Simple gown, but the focus was on her and her beauty, and I loved that. And I just love how she carried it. This for me is a top 5 memorable performance. Well done, ladies, on all of this. I can't wait to continue following this competition, but there is something else I have to mention in this episode, and that is the new crown. So there's a lot of crowns that I see in pageantry, and I'm like, I like it, it's beautiful. But then there's the crowns where I'm like, I love that, it's stunning. And typically those are the crowns that have some sort of meaning behind them. Like, for example, I really love the Miss South Africa crown. I think that's such a cool crown with a tree in it. I really like the Miss Universe Thailand crown with the stars, beautiful. And I love that this crown has the Taj Mahal. Now, I like that the Taj Mahal in the crown is not overpowering. It's not like, you know, everything. It's kind of woven in, like hidden in the crown, right? Kind of masked in it. But it's just silver rhinestones and then some blue sapphires in there, very subtle. It's just like elegant. It's tall, but it's not like so massive. So I'm a really big fan of this crown this year. I just think it's fabulous. What are your thoughts about the crown? I loved it. Thank you for watching this episode. Let me know what you want to see next on the channel. I do keep an eye out for all of those requests, and I really appreciate them. I appreciate you coming just to watch, and all of you who subscribe and join me every single week. So thank you so much, truly. And I'm excited to see you at the next episode.